Nearly all of us who are on a spiritual path, we want to develop, grow, transform into a place where we are more in touch with our inner guidance, with our intuition, with our spirit guides or other spiritual forces that we believe that we are in contact with. That is perhaps one of the pinnacles of transformation that we are all looking for. However, this is incredibly difficult and challenging in a world that is filled with change, and also it is filled with distractions, right? I'm filming this on my smartphone. I have recently deleted Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of the social media accounts because they are distractions. I still have access to them on my laptop, but they are distractions. And every time we allow ourselves to be distracted by these notifications, by this level of content, guidance have a difficulty of coming through and into our mind. Of course, at the same time, it is really important to be aware of what's happening around us in the world, right? We're not supposed to become hermits or monks that don't engage with the world. If, let's say, an injustice is happening, we should definitely engage with that. But I also do think that in the midst of all of this, for the wisdom of our spirit guides and our inner guidance to come through, we need to have moments of stillness and an overall meditative and contemplative life, right? Because otherwise it is very challenging for that guidance to come through. I have this vivid image of one of the main guides that I'm working with. He is some sort of high priest figure from an ancient civilization, obviously very different to ours. But I have this image of him sitting at his desk, just studiously working, contemplating, concentrating, focusing, and directing and pouring all of his attention into the task at hand, not allowing all of these outside forces to come into his mind and allow that energy to come through and to guide him in the messages that he was meant to share with his congregation, because that's what he had. He had a congregation. He was sort of the high priest of that. He was a scholar, a teacher, somebody who studied. Again, it's like I have other guides, a Roman general, obviously not a teacher in the same way, but he also had these moments of stillness where he grounded himself into himself. And again, so, meditation is hard. I meditate for an hour in the morning if I have time. Most days I do, because that's how I've designed my life. In the evening, it's usually between half an hour and an hour again. And of course, connecting with spirit and being an intuitive guide is my job. And so, my clients expect me to be in touch with my guidance and share whatever messages that are coming through to them when they need it. But I do still think that as a general feeling in our daily life, there is space for meditation, for contemplation, for stillness, by perhaps removing some of these distractions that we think that we need and we think that we soothe us, but actually in the long run they disconnect us. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love reading. I probably read for about 45 minutes a day. I love fantasy, just getting lost in that, and I think reading really helps to develop the mind. I do occasionally watch some TV. Again, it's a great way to just relax, right? But as with everything, it is about moderation and how much and the context and the reasons and so on and so forth. And again, I do think that, if you are somebody who are wanting to be on a spiritual path and wondering why maybe some of that guidance isn't coming through in the way that you expected to, like if that's something that you devote yourself to and to commit to, then distractions are something that has to be reduced to the minimum. And so that when you are out and about in the world, right, because we have to engage with coworkers, with clients, with parents, with friends, with injustices that are happening all around the world, and sometimes even in our backyard, we can do that place from a space of inner fulfillment. And if we can approach these perhaps more challenging situations in our life with a feeling of inner fulfillment because we are less distracted, because we have meditated, because we have connected with that greater spirit Abi, we can do that from a much more reassured place in our sense of self. Meditation is not necessarily something that creates a moral or ethical framework. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You know, there are sharpshooters who use mindfulness to focus their mind. So there is, of course, a practice also outside of meditation where you have to build your own sense of morals and ethics and responsibilities of how to move through life. But I still think it is incredibly powerful to couple those two things together. And from that place, then you don't waver so much from what you believe in or what you don't believe in. And also, in the midst of all of that, you still have a sense of openness and curiosity. But I think that, you know, a sense of assertiveness in yourself, coupled with that level of curiosity and openness, all of that comes from having a sense of spaciousness within you and an inner fulfillment. And again, you know, inner spaciousness and creating space for that guidance to come through, it all happens from removing distractions, from creating space for stillness, and then we can address the modern world from a more sense of deep rootedness in yourself and what you believe in and how you want to find your way through life. And that is also precisely what the guides want for yourself. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Tor. I'm an intuitive guide and I hold space for people to develop these kind of inner practices to find that sense of centeredness within oneself. Some people need breath work, other people need visualizations, some people need affirmations or mantras. You know, I weave all of these things together to work with my clients. And if this is something that you would like for yourself, you can learn more about me and my practices by following the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for listening. Hit that like button, subscribe button, share with a friend who you think might need it. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for listening.